15 years ago, I used to be a professional online poker player. And I learned something during those online poker player days that I still use up to this day. And I want to share this lesson over here. So I started off with $50 and I played my way through the limits. I played my way through higher and higher stakes. And in the end, I made more than $100,000 every year. So this climbing through the ranks took me roughly 2 years. And then I played at the 100K level for roughly 3 years. And I paid my study fees with this. I had private university in Germany, private university in Hong Kong. I paid everything for this. This was roughly 15 years ago. Now there's something I learned during the time that is super critical that I believe a lot of people haven't learned up to this day, even very late on in their careers. And that is finding a good balance between execution and skill development. So when you start off with online poker and you take this seriously, right? You start off with very small limits, as in maybe you only have $1 of the buy into the table. So maybe it's half a cent, 1 cent at the small blind, big blind. You've got $1 that you pay into the table. And those games are very, very soft because $1 of a buy-in feels pretty much like play money to a lot of people. It's not really a lot of money. So people don't really take the game seriously. So if you just have very basic knowledge of poker, you simply just follow very basic strategies, you should be making money, right? You simply just have to learn the basics. You have to estimate the probabilities in a better way than your opponents. And then even though the online casino takes its rake, since your edge, your strategic edge versus the other players on that table, since your edge is larger than the fees that the casino takes, over time you will be making money on those smaller stakes. And so then you move from $50 to maybe $100 of a bankroll, to maybe $200 of a bankroll. And as your bankroll is growing, you also tend to play higher stakes, right? You don't play anymore for half a cent, 1 cent. You might then play for, say, $1, $2 at one point, right? Like you have $200 of a buy-in. So you increase your buy-in, you increase your big blind, small blind relative to your bankroll. And the higher you go in the ranks, the more serious the money becomes to the players and the more skilled the players tend to be. And so your win rate, what you win per 100 hands, your win rate tends to drop. And you climb even higher than that, then of course the fees that the casino takes is also getting capped. So you still can make money on the higher ranks, but in general, the higher the limits go, the more money is moving across the poker table, the tougher the games get. Now, what does that mean in return? It means that we need both components. We need execution, as in we have to play a lot in order to actually materialize our gains, our skill edge into monetary gains. And we also have to learn a lot so that we actually have some kind of strategic edge. And finding the right balance is super important, because if you don't study poker enough, if you don't study all the intricate details, then you've got a big problem making any money whatsoever, right? Or you simply get stuck at those lower levels because you can only win against those very poorly skilled players. But if you only study all the time and you don't play a lot, then you've got the opposite problem, right? You don't have enough sample size and you don't make money. So you have to do a lot of execution, but you also have to do a lot of learning. And finding the right balance is super, super important. When you learn, what you're basically doing is you're increasing your expected value, you're increasing your hourly rate. When you're executing, then you're simply just putting in more hours. And hourly rate times number of hours is income. And income is way more important, by the way, than expenses, right? In the end, we want to have a nice lifestyle, we want to have our spendings, and for net worth, the delta between spending and income matters. And income is pretty much unlimited, and reducing spending is not necessarily unlimited, right? So income is more important, and for generating income, what's even more important than the execution part is actually the learning part, right? Getting the hourly number up. You don't want to end up working 100 hours every week, right? You rather want to work 50 hours and have double the hourly rate. So increasing the hourly rate actually is really what matters. And in poker, that would simply translate into learning how to play poker well. Now, in crypto, it is a bit more differentiated than this, because in crypto, we've got two levers. We've got the first level that's simply just knowing more than the average Joe, right? It's like learning on-chain analytics. It's being very well informed. It's following the right Twitter accounts. It's being part of the right community that's skilled, right? So that's the expected value part. But the leverage part is not necessarily only the number of hours that we play, as with poker. It's also the capital that we have. So we've got two levers. We've got the capital and we've got the skill. And this is what makes crypto more attractive compared to, for example, online poker, or compared to most jobs out there, right? In most jobs, you can simply just scale up and you can maybe bill more per hour, or you can maybe demand a higher salary, but there's a certain cap to it. If you've got capital as a lever and what you actually get paid for is not necessarily a US dollar amount, but a percent return on your capital, then things become interesting, right? Then things become really exponential. I find it interesting that society really doesn't teach us how important this balance is between execution and between studying. And society isn't even set up this way, right? We are studying in school, we are studying in university, we do this for a decade, more than a decade. We're not executing at all, right? We don't make any money whatsoever. Everything is super theoretical, and a lot of things that we learn are not even applicable to making money. And in the end, we leave school, we leave university, and we don't even know how to monetize anything. Imagine people in school would already learn how to present, and then maybe they would have to do a little bit of selling, right? They would have to learn how to not just present something in front of a school class, but they would have to learn how to present a certain product and sell the product. Imagine when you learn physics at school that afterwards you have to do a little bit of engineering on the side and you actually have to build something with the stuff that you have learned. Imagine it wouldn't all just be theoretical knowledge that gets tested in an exam. Imagine there was actually some kind of execution loop to this, because that's the interesting part about all of this, right? Why can't we just say study poker for 1 year and then start executing on this? Right? Why can't we simply just go through all of the books, all of the educational videos, and then after we have studied for 50 hours for 1 year, directly join, say, the 1,000 US dollar tables? The reason is we don't really have practical context around this. We don't really have a feeling of what's really important, relevant knowledge. We need to kind of cement the first basics that we have learned through practice. And once that's really dialed in, then we can go another level up and then we can apply that again. It's really the interaction between theory and practice that makes the difference. And so it's the same in crypto, right? It makes a lot of sense to study a new on-chain tool, to study, say, Dune Analytics, find out what kind of learnings we can take from various statistics, and then apply this in trading. It makes sense to learn something about risk management and then apply this in your own portfolio diversification. It makes a lot of sense to follow various Twitter influencers and then see how well they are predicting certain trends, and then refine this and again apply this to your trading. So it's very important to figure out what kind of tools work for you, and it's very important to have this balance between learning new things and actually applying it. If you're simply just randomly trading all the time, and you're simply just drawing random lines on a chart, and you don't really have that much edge in the market, you can have a lot of execution and still not make any money. But on the other hand, if you're simply just learning tools, but you've got very little capital to invest, you're also not going to make a lot of money. You really need both. You need time in order to improve your skills, but you also need some capital that then a percentage return on that capital actually matters. If you currently have enough capital, let's say an additional 10 to 20% per annum would actually make a difference to you, then it does make a lot of sense to learn all of this, right? Then it makes a lot of sense to put a lot of focus on this. If you've got already, say, 3 years of your income ready to speculate with, then 10% will be equal to 3.6% of income, right? 10% return, additional return would be 3.6% of income. If you've got even 20% of alpha over buying and holding, then with 3 years, you have more than 7 months that you make additional income. So the more capital we have, the more we can afford to put our focus on investing, on improving our skills. The real lever for creating wealth I believe, is the hourly rate. And the hourly rate is depending on how much better you have studied a certain market, how well you can compete in the market. And on top of that, if you can lever your capital as well, that's then what really makes the difference. So in order to increase wealth quickly, skill has to increase quickly, because with skill comes hourly rate, at least with the right skills. And so that was one of the main reasons why I created this premium membership here, right? It gives me an additional income. It's a scalable income. As I have a larger YouTube channel, it scales up. But on top of that, I'm also surrounding myself with a lot of other people, a lot of other paid members that have crypto performance at the center of their mind, right? That want to learn as well. And so we help each other in Telegram, right? We talk about new tools. We talk about how to avoid certain crypto scams. We talk about how to beat the market. And we help each other in order to level up, in order to become the top 10, maybe even top 5% of the market. Because this is unfortunately how pretty much any of those player versus player markets go, right? It's the same for poker. It's also for crypto. The vast majority of participants tend to lose. But the few ones that win, they tend to win very consistently, and they concentrate pretty much all of the returns. So really, it's a winner takes most game. So yeah, feel free to check it out. The link is down below. It's thebitcoinstrader.com. That's the premium membership. There's also a 1-week money back guarantee. So in case you don't like what you see, in case you feel like you're not getting enough value out of it, simply email me or send me a Telegram message, and then I will simply just send you the money back. Just let me know within the first 7 days. So you've really got zero risk whatsoever. Feel free, as usual, to give this a like. If you haven't yet subscribed, feel free to subscribe as well. And of course, see you in the next video as well. Cheers.